The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Savannah Humoller, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
Mickey is wondering, why in the world are we playing the fight song on what day is today? Wednesday. Well, it's our last show of the week. We're going to win the bye this week. That's what we're going to do.
I thought it was for the Rangers.
Well, that too. This is Mick Shots, and it is a special edition of Mick Shots, of course, because we've got the great Kristi Scales joining us for the next 45 minutes here on Mick Shots. Hello, Kristi.
I'm glad to be. Thank you to Everson Walls for letting me sit in his seat this time. You know, Everson and I actually went to the same junior high.
I did not
the same
know that.
years, but yeah, we
In
grew
Hamilton
up
Park?
near each other. We both went to Forest Meadow Junior High, and then
Okay.
he ended up going to Berkner, and I went to Lake Highlands. I think his family had moved that. But yes, and we've also have combined 57 career interceptions in our NFL
That's
career.
right.
So
So you have that in common, too.
This is a mix show, right? Did you
Mixed,
preface that?
A mixed
a mixed
mixed
Shots.
A mixed Mick
That's
Shots.
right, yeah.
and Monday as well. So you're going to have to put up with me one more time, but appreciate being with you guys.
No, it's great. It's great. And we just play that Stampede, the old Cowboys fight song, on Fridays, and a fabulous football fight song Friday, and
then
on
4
Mondays
times
after
on Mondays.
after a win. So we played it 4 times on Mondays.
Yeah, and
or
when,
Tuesday.
and when do you play the Charlie Pride? Dallas Cowboys.
That's not bad. We
Yeah,
ought to
yeah. Need to
incorporate
get that one going.
Yeah, let's incorporate that into the arsenal there. Mickey, what do you think?
I don't know. We're not big on change in this show.
I wonder why. Yeah, Mickey was in a sour mood all last week.
Because of San Francisco, were you not feeling great about the matchups going into Los
No,
Angeles,
it
or
just
what was it?
nothing to celebrate after that game.
He was reflecting the mood of the building, I think, last week.
So after
San
the first 2
Francisco.
drives Monday night, and so Cowboys quick out on offense, and then the Chargers drive down, are you thinking,
Oh, no.
yes,
But things changed. And then yesterday, Kristi, he was back in that Mickey mood of last week because we spent a whole segment, I think, talking about the punt play. We're not talking about it today.
Let's not do it.
We're not talking about it today. Well, let's start things off by getting Kristi's take. What do you say on where this team stands at the bye? I just taped the Mike McCarthy show moments ago, and
Well, we need to get your take.
Yeah,
man.
well,
You
yeah.
got the...
Did he use the roller coaster analogy that he used in his Tuesday afternoon press conference talking about the highs and lows of a season, and it's a roller coaster ride? And he said, roller coaster rides are fun. And I'm thinking to myself, I love roller coaster rides, but they also make me a little nauseous as well.
That's right.
So what did Mike have to say?
well, and along those lines, the importance of that win over the Chargers cannot be understated, because you go to the bye and with a 3-3 record, especially with the opportunity that was presented this team by the Eagles losing to the Jets. Right. I mean, you go into Sunday play, and there was a chance the Cowboys were going to be 3 games out of first place. Mm-hmm. And they come out of the game on Monday night, and they're 1 game out. And by the time they get back to work on next Monday, they could be a half game out of first place because the Dolphins play the Eagles on Sunday night. But he's in good spirits. In some ways, especially the early part of this week is just as busy as a regular week because you're on a different type schedule and there's things you're trying to get done early in the week. So that you can take a few days off to go watch your daughter play volleyball, or one of his daughters, the 9th grader, it's homecoming this week
Oh,
at
my goodness.
Prestonwood Christian Academy.
Yeah.
And so he's got homecoming festivities that start with a parade on Wednesday, and he's going to try to play dad and be able to be out there.
Well,
I told him,
Grand Marshal or what?
Yeah.
I told him, I think think they probably scheduled their homecoming around the Cowboys bye week so that Mike McCarthy could be there as a dad.
I bet where he grew up in Pittsburgh and where the girls grew up in Wisconsin before coming down here, that they're not used to mums that are the size of this Mick Shot logo here inside the studio.
That's the first thing he said. Well, you know what homecoming is like in Texas. And yeah, I'm a homecoming dad. The other thing, I made him our unsung star of the week.
Why is that?
Because of his call sheet and the reviews that covering his lips as he called in the plays. I actually thought of it, and he talked about it in his press conference yesterday, but about his mom calling him. And, but I thought about it during the game on Monday night. I'm sitting there on the close-up shots, watching on television. It was almost as if he was making a conscious effort. Okay, he would start the play call, and then during the play call, he would purposely lift the call sheet up. And so I asked him about that, and yeah, it's very much on his mind. He said that his mother said that 5 people came up to her at church and said, Mike has got to do something about this calling the plays. He's got to lift that call sheet up. But now the font, he's got to deal with the font. The font size is too big.
Yes, it's too big, and people can read it. They'll be zooming in and trying
so, Mickey,
to,
he may have a game day role for you. You could be on the Cowboys sideline, and you could be the shield on the call sheet.
Yeah, but I'm too short. Plus, I need the thing at 16 point, too, by the way, to be able to read it.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you.
What do people watch? You guys watch that?
We're watching the game, and they show a close-up of him.
They're showing it on TV.
On TV.
Oh, we don't get that person, right?
Literally, where I stand behind him, oftentimes, usually the sideline reporter can get to about the 30-yard line. And then, of course, if the plays are down, especially if the plays are in the red zone, then the coach is going to be kind of sneaking down the sideline as much as possible while still staying in the coach's box, so to speak. But oftentimes, I'm close enough standing behind him that I can read the sheet.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah, because it's some.
But it's not
sheets.
English.
Well, you can.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Train right, scout right. I mean, it's not that hard, you know. So I don't want to give any route combos, 525, but but yeah, you can. Of course, you can read it. Sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but going back to Monday night, though, we were talking about how after those first 2 drives, you're thinking, oh, man, here we go. The Chargers just marched right down, and this looks like it might be Kellen Moore's night. But the way that the Cowboys offense answered what would have been the 3rd drive of the game overall, the Cowboys' 2nd drive on offense, that's the one that resulted in the Dak Prescott 18-yard touchdown run. And that's when you're like, okay, game on. I mean, you could really – there are points in the game on the sideline where you can feel things turn. And it's generally more second half, or obviously if it's a catalytic play like a takeaway or something like that, those things are very obvious. But there are also more subtle times where you can just kind of feel it, like the screws tightening down, so to speak. And I really felt it at the end of that drive. And then when the Chargers go back out and the Cowboys defense gets the 3 and out, it's like, all right, here we go. This is going to be Cowboys night, because after those first 2, it's like, oh gosh, this might be San Francisco all over again.
It felt like it was going to be the Cowboys night, and then it wasn't until Tony Pollard broke free for a 60-yard run where it started feeling again with it.
Yeah, but
it really was. You felt like it was one of those games where the Cowboys appeared to be the better team, but they couldn't get any
put
distance.
him away. But the way that they consistently harassed Justin Herbert, to me, that's what was really the difference in the game. Because Justin Herbert, I was so excited about going to the game because I love to watch Aaron Rodgers play. Non-Cowboy, he's my favorite player to watch. But Justin Herbert, and we got to see him in training camp last summer when the Cowboys practiced at Costa Mesa, and they've got so many weapons. Keenan Allen, a lot bigger guy than he looks on TV, and I know Austin Eckler had been coming off the ankle injury, and I don't think he looked like the Austin Eckler that you normally see. But still, I was so excited about seeing this Chargers offense and Justin Herbert operate it. And, yeah, I think that left finger injury affected things. The fact that he had to be in the shotgun the entire game, the fact that by the end of the first quarter, there were so many Cowboys fans making it so loud that the home team is operating on a silent count. How embarrassing for the Chargers. But the way that the Cowboys continually affected Herbert and made him look non-Justin Herbert, that I thought that was the storyline of the game, because they were able to stop the run and put it all on the passing game, and then able to get after him in the passing game and with the pass rush.
And along those lines, even on the 2 overthrows of Keenan Allen, on the
Bland got lucky.
fell down.
Bland got lucky on that. But they were affected. It's because Herbert was affected.
And even if they weren't getting to him on those passes, in his mind, he doesn't know but what Micah Parsons is breathing down his neck here, and
exactly right.
So he's trying to get it out quicker than what he normally would.
Well, they better thank the defense, because the offense is still malfunctioning. I mean, you can talk about the game being turned around, but until the final play of the first half, it was 7-7. They were not performing offensively. They had a 4th and 4 at the 18, and ended up having to punt after a penalty, one of 11. Those guys were flag happy, by the way.
Yes, they were.
Land Clark.
Don't give
Land
Clark.
We were joking yesterday on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. I said that Land Clark got more shots in an NFL game than Taylor Swift at a Travis Kelce. I mean, they were showing him the whole time. Golly, if he got paid by announcement after a flag, he'd be a rich man after that game. But what do you guys see with the problems with the Cowboys' run game? Because it's still such a huge issue.
The offensive line just not playing well. We thought that getting all 5 guys back together again for the first time since the end of 2021, that was going to solve all their problems. In the last 2 games, they haven't protected Dak very well, and they haven't run the ball very well. I mean, 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. That's way too many from a defense that wasn't a team known for its defense. I'm not sure, what the deal is. McCarthy talked about how they kind of switched things up at the defensive
Schottenheimer
tackle.
talked about the unscouted looks that they
hadn't seen before.
Yeah, coming out of a bye, that's one thing that McCarthy was concerned about coming into the game too, since the Chargers were coming out of the bye.
Yeah, all that movement on the line, interior of the line, the defensive line.
Right.
And other than 2 guys, it's still somewhat of a young group. I mean, there was the one play where I'm assuming Tyler Smith was supposed to pick up the guy coming from his right, but when he backed up, he was turned to his left, and the guy just ran right through. And they just had some blocking scheme problems, and it's got to improve because a lot of what they did offensively. You mentioned the play to Tony Pollard. Well, that wasn't the play. Dak scrambling. And I'm sure the quarterback keeper for 18-yard touchdown wasn't designed to be a touchdown either. So a lot of what they accomplished offensively was, not on that play script that you saw. Dak was having to improvise quite a bit in that game, and that's something that this offense has got to get going, because it's still not functioning the way it needs to function until, 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go, they scored 17 points. It's got to be better.
On that 18-yard touchdown run, of course, it's the one where he fakes the handoff to Tony Pollard. Hey, Pollard thought he had that. I mean, he was clamped down on it, and Dak literally wrested it away from the running back, and you could see that Dak kind of bobbled it a little bit as he was pulling the football away from Tony Pollard. But it was so convincing. Pollard thought he had it that the defense was crashing in on it, and so that's why it was open for Dak to take it all the way in from 18 yards out. But seeing it's like when I saw Dak pull the ball away, I'm like, because Tony like I said, he was already down on it. It ended up being a great play and a really good decision by Dak Prescott, but a little dangerous when he pulled it out.
The defensive end thought so too.
Yeah,
he made
he
a
crashed
hell of
on
a
it.
hit on Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard paid the price for Dak's touchdown.
And even after I heard some of the highlights, Brad had to apologize because he had called it.
Oh yeah, totally freaked
Pollard
out.
wasn't the only one.
Dropped
It was
for
on TV
3
that was
yards.
the
I
same
thought
way.
it too.
Yeah.
I was looking that way, and all of a sudden I heard the crowd, and I go, "Why are somebody cheering for a -3 run?" And then I looked, and he's scampering into the end zone.
I think Dak saw what he saw on film from the San Francisco game, and he wasn't going to let the
how much did
opportunity.
they bite, and how much they bite
and
on that.
there were opportunities in that game where he could have pulled it and run too, and he wasn't about to let that happen. That opportunity slip away in this game, and wound up in the end zone. So, speaking of Dak, how about this? When we come back here on Mix Shots, it's going to be interesting to hear Mickey's reaction to one of the grades given to Dak Prescott for his performance on Monday night when we come back here on Mix Shots.
Nothing to bark about when he gets an A.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mixed Shots.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, the official roofer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Mickey back in his old role of reading the spots as Savannah Humoller not with us today. Kristi Scales is here as we mix things up during this bye week. And Kristi, I don't know if you've ever heard Mickey in the past go off on some of these grades that are given to players by a certain organization in the past, but he's going to love the fact that Dak Prescott was rated. He was actually tied with Matthew Stafford out of Highland Park High School with the highest grade of any quarterback in the league in Week 6, according to Pro Football Focus. Mickey,
What is that?
Mickey's favorite.
It doesn't show up on my laptop for some reason. Well,
what do you think
of
that? Did they get one right?
How hard is this? He finished with a quarterback rating of 109.3. You don't have to be an analytic genius to figure out that he played pretty darn well, right?
And there were 32 teams that played. There were only 2 teams that had byes this week. And so,
well, but it's interesting that he got an A, because if you read only a couple of columns of the stat line, 1 TD pass, well, okay, sacked 5 times, oh, he must have been horrible. But and it's true, he was sacked 5 times, but it was really what he did with his legs, extending plays. We talked about running for the first touchdown of the game, but I think that was the difference, is that of all the games, that just the 6 games we've had this year, and we got to see more of that part of the game that we saw early in his game that we saw early in his career, and that's what made the difference.
You're being too logical. When they give those grades out, there's no logic or analyzation in it. It's all analytics. Like, what do the numbers say? Well, he completed like 69% or 70% of his passes, and he had a season-high 272 yards. They don't factor that stuff in, right?
They don't put in that he's the leading rusher in your team, which you don't want. You don't want your quarterback to be the leading rusher.
Yards, right?
It's Lamar Jackson, I guess.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, a little different.
But even they don't want that. No. But we were talking about it yesterday. Okay, coming into the weekend, if you were to rank just based on, not if you were to rank, we were talking from a national perspective, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, what order would they go in just going into the weekend?
Shoot, after seeing Brock Purdy from the sideline the previous week and what they did to the Cowboys, he looked like the second coming.
All right. I mean, I had him as the MVP winner. After the Cowboy game, I had him as the MVP winner.
It would have been 1, 2, 3.
Might as well give it to this guy.
As I said yesterday, it would have been 1, 2, 3, and 10.
With Dak at 10.
But, check this out.
But you come out of the weekend, and Purdy was very pedestrian-like with his numbers against the Browns. And
have to give it to PJ with the Browns as now the second coming.
and then Hurts threw 3 picks in his loss. And then Justin Herbert on the other side. We saw them matched up against each other, and it was obvious who won that quarterback battle.
So when I was coming in, the fan was playing were they playing something? Oh, they were playing Micah's podcast.
Okay.
And Micah was on a rant about, so when these other 3 quarterbacks played so poorly in their losses, how come the nation doesn't criticize them the way they criticize Dak when he has a bad game? And he just went on and on and on and on, right? And so for some reason, I had to look, and they only have 6 touchdown passes in 6 games. That's just not going to cut it.
No.
Right? So something's got to improve greatly with this offense. I think the wide receivers only have 3 of those, maybe.
Well, CD had his, and then Brandon Cooks has
saying
one.
For the 6
for
games.
The seasons,
for the season. And then the tight ends have 2, and I guess they had maybe 4 it was. But anyway, 6 in 6 games. And when I hear all these people talking about Dak, they seem to forget that very recently in 2021, he had 40 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions. So it's like that was his last full season. Last year playing, 12 games? 11 and a half, really. 12 games, he had 23 touchdown passes, and we know about the interceptions. But in 2021, he showed he's capable of doing this, right? 40 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions. He was awfully, awfully good. And I think people forget that, okay, he's got all this stuff to prove. Well, the team has all this stuff to prove, too, by the way. He wasn't responsible for giving up, 23 points in that playoff loss to San Francisco after that season. And he had the team on the move until they couldn't get the clock stopped in time. So anyway, they forget that good stuff, and they hang on last year's 15 interceptions, which half of those were not his fault. So, I think that it's a national deal right now. Pick on Dak Prescott, but Micah doesn't understand it's the Cowboys, and this is the way it's always been win or lose, they're always most prominent in other people's analyzation.
What do you see as the biggest issue with just the 6 touchdown passes? We've talked about how the run game needs to improve. Have we had enough of through 6 games to get a good feel for what McCarthy's trying to do?
Well, I think the biggest problem was how they won the first, 3 games?
The blowout wins, blowout wins. It's skewed.
Individually.
I mean, they were so far ahead of the Giants.
They're not throwing the ball.
And then it was raining, and there was no sense taking chances. There was no sense after they got ahead of the Jets taking chances.
Arizona, they were missing 3 offensive linemen.
Right. That one. New England, they got up so much on them. So you got 3 of the games, there were blowout wins that you're not going to get. And the defense was scoring touchdowns as well. And that's how you were getting ahead in those games. And so, and then you had a blowout loss.
So you're
and now you're taking chances that you probably normally wouldn't take, and he gets intercepted.
And that's the 3 picks.
Yeah, but do you guys have confidence moving forward that we'll see some of that production that we saw earlier?
I have not seen it yet. That the way it needs to be. Now, maybe this offensive line gets together and gets a little bit of continuity. Maybe they can get going. And
you've seen that in years past with offensive line, where you get your 5 guys in there. McCarthy talks about September football, and that's one of the products, I think, of September football. It takes time without any preseason games for an offensive line to come together. Well, okay, if you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, they've got all 5 guys together now for 2 weeks. Now you got to bye a week. Now let's see what happens. And they bye next week in the Eagles game. They should be
right. Like have some continuity.
There are no excuses.
And not have – because there was a lot of, I think, assignment errors that they didn't adjust to as well as they needed to. And in that vein, you say going forward, I thought Dan Quinn made a really good assessment yesterday when he did his media availability. He said, all we did last week was look back. And he goes, and my message to them by the time we got to the game was, we're looking forward. And he had a really good analogy. He said when Usain Bolt is running his 100-meter dash, he's not looking to the side and he's not looking back. He's looking forward, right? And he goes, and that's what we need to do. And you know what it reminded me of? The 1988 Olympics in Seoul. I'm sitting in the stands watching the 100-meter final, and it was going to be Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson, right, head-to-head. And they were about halfway through the 100, and Carl Lewis does this. He looks sideways to his left. And they got to about 70 meters. He looks sideways again, and he sees Ben Johnson in front of him. And he looks sideways a 3rd time, right? And Ben Johnson just smokes him to win the 100 until they had to do the P test.
And then strip the medal from Ben Johnson. And then they
stripped the medal from Ben Johnson, and Carl Lewis was the winner. But it just dawned on, and I can see it vividly, that, when you run a dash, you're not looking to see where your guys are. You're looking straight ahead, right? And I can remember Little League playing baseball and, running to first base. And it's like, don't be looking where the ball is. Run, right? Because that's going to slow you down.
Yeah. Put blinders on.
That's right. And so I thought Quinn's words yesterday and what he told his defense made a lot of sense. You can sit there and linger on giving up 42 points, but you don't want it to bleed into the next game. And they did a much better job against, the quarterback that had the 3rd best quarterback rating in the league going into that game.
And I think that the blinders and looking forward, not to the side, is something that players and coaches are used to. They really are. It's the fans and the media. We're the ones looking around. And so
we're looking backwards.
We're looking backwards. But also, just in regards to what we were talking about earlier, Cleveland with the surprise win over the Eagles, and then San Francisco looking terrible. In particular, Brock Purdy, their entire offense, guys injured, losing it at Cleveland. And so, the Cowboys can't control that. They have to stay focused. But the one thing that was interesting last week, or following the San Francisco game, and it's because there was a Monday night game at the Chargers, but using that Wednesday to look back, make more corrections against the 49ers. That was really different. I don't ever recall that with some other, or at least they didn't talk about it if other staffs did that. Because generally it is that 24-hour rule. You put it to bed by Monday afternoon, what happened Sunday, and then start moving forward and working on the next opponent. And yet it was really more of a 72-hour rule just in terms of how they approach the week going into the Chargers, because they didn't have a game plan installation until Thursday on the practice field.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting and unique.
And yet, so they looked back on Wednesday because they had the extra day, the Monday night game.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done it if it weren't a Monday.
Apparently, whoever talked in the chapel really resonated with the team. That was the message looking forward. And so
they took it to heart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took care of business on Monday night. All right, we look forward when we come back here on Mix Shots in just a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Back to Mix Shots.
The 2024 PBR World Finals are taking over at AT&T Stadium on May 18th and 19th. Don't miss your chance to see the biggest and best bull riding action as the world's best riders fight for the coveted gold buckle. It all comes down to this. 2-day ticket packages are now on sale, now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium.
So it's May 18th?
May 18th.
That shows you how big of an event that is.
That just struck me. It's
What's
October
the date today?
18th, maybe?
October 18th.
Oh, yeah, because this is the finals. This is it.
This
isn't just one of the things, like in the past, the PBR would be there at AT&T Stadium for Dirt Month, right after motocross and after monster trucks and all that. But this is the final. So having our North Texas region, having AT&T Stadium wrest this away from Vegas, a few years back, it's a big dang deal.
You're selling
a big dang
tickets
deal.
7 months in advance.
Because it's a championship.
The baseball season's still going on, and they'll be in the second month of the season by May 18th.
That's great. May 18th, AT&T Stadium. All right.
Oh, this is
Cowboys
gonna be
players
obsolete.
are off until Monday.
Yeah, but there's some here today.
Well, I mean, they don't have to be here until Monday.
I think it's
right?
the young guys need to be here.
Oh, okay.
And there may be some workouts going on, too.
What does Mickey think of giving the team the full week off?
Well, they have to give them 4 days.
You got 4 days for sure.
You know, by the time you got back, you already forfeited Tuesday. So what are you going to do today?
You know, it's almost cliche that
It's like, what are you going to get done during the bye?
that every team always said, "Oh, the bye comes at a good time."
Yeah.
I did the math on it, and it's been 13 weeks now since the team landed in Oxnard, California, for the start of training camp. So
It's always a good time.
So that's a quarter of a year that we've been at it right now.
Yeah.
So
Feels good for us
13
to have
weeks.
it. You know, the one thing, though, is the league with the scheduling cost the Cowboys a day and a half of bye week because it's a Monday night. It was a Monday night game instead of a Sunday, and it being a night game and flying back, we actually landed fairly early, about 3:20 in the morning.
3:25.
3:25. Mick and I were next to each other on the plane, so we were 5 minutes early. We were supposed to get in at 3:30, but when you and we've had 3 of these overnight away games. And so that costs you half a day because instead of coming in the next morning and being done by the early afternoon, now you're coming in early afternoon and you're done late afternoon. So basically the scheduling costs the guys a day and a half of their off week. And McCarthy would have probably, given it to them and not have them come in for a day of practice this week. So I think the league really did a job on us this year.
Because if it was a home game, they would have come in on Monday, done their normal Monday schedule of lifting and a jog through, and then you would have Tuesday off.
Yeah, well, even if it were an away game, if it on Sunday,
normal away game.
normal away game. But the good news is, at least with some of these evening games that are coming up through the remainder of the season, at least they're at home. So that's some wear and tear when you have all of these in so many. Such a condensed amount of time that we've had early in the season.
McCarthy talked about it. He looks at it this year, just the way the schedule falls with the bye week, and then the back-to-back Thursday games, Thanksgiving, and the last game in November, November 30th. You're looking at when they come back, they get 6 games in the span of 33 days.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the good news is, at least you have that one stretch where it's the 3 home games. That's really unusual to have 3 in a row at home, and part of that's that condensed time with the Thursdays. But
is the Philly game a night game?
Sunday night game at Philly. That will be the day after the Rangers beat the Phillies in the Game 7 of the World Series in Arlington.
We just got it, so we can. It's
we
going to
won't
be in
be able to-
Arlington, so we don't get to celebrate.
Rangers have home field advantage if they make it to the World Series, whether they play Arizona or Philadelphia, and the Phillies are up 2-0 in their series now. So if it comes down to Rangers Phillies. Now the Rangers win every postseason game, so it's not going to get to 7,
right?
So, but that means the Rangers would win in Philadelphia the World Series. But anyway,
so
game 6 and 7.
Mickey and I will climb the street lamps in Philadelphia since the Phillies fans won't be doing it.
That's right. So, but game 6 and 7 would be here on Friday night and Saturday night, November 3rd and 4th, and the Cowboys play at Philadelphia.
Yeah, so we'll be watching from the team hotel in Philadelphia.
That's right.
Watching them in Arlington.
I'll be walking around like I did Sunday night with my phone in my hand watching baseball.
We're climbing the street lamps.
Yeah,
they're going to have to grease the street crews are going to have to grease the street lamps like they do.
I did ask Mike McCarthy how big of a baseball fan he has been in his life, and he said, well, not recently, but once upon a time in my other life, before I got into this, I was a big baseball fan. But he said that they did watch the Rangers-Astros at the team hotel on Sunday night. So, and I would think Dak's going to be out there watching some baseball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tonight?
I wouldn't be surprised.
They'll probably get a suite, don't you think?
Dak is a big supporter of all the local teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you come back.
Are you going to be there?
I am going to be there. Yep. That's right.
Do you need somebody, as people ask me,
somebody
to carry your bag?
But when they come back, okay, you got the Rams on October 29th, okay, and
a
then
strange
November 5th
noon game.
Yeah, it is. Then November, which by the way, that would be I'm doing the math on it. Games 1 and 2 of the World Series would be Friday, Saturday.
Boy, you're looking way ahead. You're following the chapel.
And that would be the 27th and 28th is games 1 and 2. And so I was trying to figure out if the Rangers and Cowboys would be playing on the same day in Arlington, but I don't believe there's a baseball game scheduled for that Sunday, the 29th. Okay, so the Rams at noon, and then Philadelphia. Then you got the Giants here at Carolina, and then you close out November with Thanksgiving Day, Washington, Thanksgiving Day, Seattle. That ends the next trimester, okay?
Dolly
then
Parton.
you come back with, on December 10th, you get the mini bye there, and then we've talked about this but when the schedule came out. But just to review,
yes,
the last quote-unquote trimester of this season for the Cowboys. Now that we know what these teams have done here the first 6 weeks. Philadelphia at home, December 10th. At Buffalo, December 17th. At Miami, Christmas Eve. Then home to play Detroit on December 30th, and then close at Washington. Those 4 straight games, Philadelphia, at Buffalo, at Miami, and Detroit. How about that?
Better
take care of business.
Stocking some wins.
Which I don't know if I've got the Eagles schedule in front of me here.
I can pull it up.
Here it is. I do have it.
Okay.
Now the Eagles have this stretch coming up where, they got Miami Sunday night. Then they play at Washington, and they always have problems with Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was a 34-31 overtime win their first meeting, and this one's at Washington. Then they play Dallas, and they get the bye. Then they get Monday night, November 20th at Kansas City.
Ooh.
Sunday, November 26th, Buffalo.
Ooh.
Sunday, December 3rd, San Francisco.
Ouch.
Sunday, December 10th at Dallas. So they got a 4-game stretch there of Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas.
So we get them after San Francisco.
So
wow.
Yeah.
After they play San Francisco.
Yeah. And of course, nobody wins the week after they play San Francisco, right?
Doesn't look like nobody wins after the week they play the Cowboys.
Exactly, man. Wow. But here's the thing. You can't – it's just like we were talking about with Cleveland taking care of business on the – you just – I know we all do it, but – remember, you got to keep looking forward. Mm-hmm. Don't be Carl Lewis, Bill. Don't be Carl Lewis. Keep looking forward.
The day after the San Francisco game, and I know since you're doing the games, you are aware of this going into the San Francisco game, but the day after the San Francisco game, I'm sitting there looking at the 49ers roster going, they haven't lost a single player to injury this season. They went through the first 5 games of the season, and there were only 5 players who were on either PUP or injured on the injured list. 3 of them were rookies, and 2 of them were second-year players who were not primary backups.
Yeah. Ayuk had missed 1 game, and that was it. And then they had a cornerback that had missed a game, and that was it. Everything else was the same. They had all their the main thing is their starting offensive line.
So then,
right?
What happened at Cleveland?
Yeah.
Debo goes out early in that game. McCaffrey goes out. Trent Williams went out for a little bit and then came back.
He returned, right?
Yes,
okay.
he came back, but he was playing on one leg. It
did
makes a difference.
Did he get hurt inciting a fight before the game again?
Well, what's so funny is when I'm reading this about the pregame scuffle before the game at Cleveland, they're saying, and Trent Williams stepped in as peacemaker. I'm I don't think so. He may have at the end.
He was instigator.
Oh my goodness.
With Debo.
Man, that
they're going to have to start doing something about that.
No, really, and something has to be done because what happened before the game with the Chargers, and a lot of it is logistics. And I know that not every stadium has multiple tunnels, 4 entry points, or it's not like AT&T Stadium where they come behind the bench, the 50-yard line, and each can come in from their respective sides. But you're asking for trouble when you have one team cross through the other team to get to their side of the field for pregame, okay? So there are some logistical things or some timing things that can be done because fines, and I imagine that there will be some fines this week for all that happened, not just with Cowboys, Chargers, or with Cleveland and San Francisco. it's not really a deterrent when it's a heat of the moment kind of thing. You know, it's punitive, but I don't think it's preventive because, you know, they're just reacting in the heat of the moment.
Boys.
Exactly. Like I say, too much testosterone and too much of a confined space is what happened between the 40 and the 50-yard line right in front of the Cowboys bench when the Cowboys defensive line ran past and through the Chargers defensive back pregame drill.
I told you how to fix that. Just let them warm up on the other side of the field.
But then the other team's crossing through. So that's the point, is you have to be on the other side.
They would have came around the back of the end zone and came down their sideline. They don't need to.
So you think the Chargers were picking?
Instead of halving the field from the 50, you should half it down the middle. This is your side, and this is the Cowboys'
So we got the
side.
Crips and the Bloods.
That's right.
We've got the Jets and the...
there's no crisscrossing of young men all jacked up to play.
That's what I put in my... I do contribute to Sports Day Online, DallasMorningNews.com, and I said we had the Ghostbusters don't cross the streams, and we had the streams cross in pregame, and bad things happen when the streams cross.
Yeah. Yeah, you just run them.
No 9 routes. It's everything across the middle, you know.
Run your stuff right down the sideline.
I don't know how Mickey's going to figure that one out.
You just run the 9 route from the 20 to the next 20, straight down the sideline.
Straight down the sideline.
Well, it's 12:45. Looks like that shot clock got us again.
No.
Yeah.
We were just getting going.
Do you think all the assistant coaches are done talking by now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. They moved it up a half hour, didn't they?
I know they did.
Yeah, that was good. We got a little extra.
At least got us a half hour.
And then on Monday with Mick Shots, hopefully I get to come back and see you guys on Monday. And, you know, they'll be having their across the hall meetings. And so that's going to be interesting and fun to talk about. So a little
Except
bit of self-scouting.
we won't know about what happened, though.
Well, no, but, you know, it is something interesting. There are some things that this staff does that are different from previous staffs. And the way that Coach handles the young coaches on the staff and all of these extra young guys meetings and things like that. So I
think it's going to be interesting, not only here but around the league, the adjustments. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, the adjustments now that offenses make, because if you look at the scores of games this past week, there were 25 of the 30 teams in the league scored 21 or fewer points this week. It was remarkable how low-scoring the games were.
Yeah, and you look at the amount of offensive linemen that are injured, and that has a lot to do with it.
That's because no one's got enough backups to be able to sustain the injuries.
There aren't even enough good ones to fill the starting roles.
No, you're right about that.
That's right. All right. Thanks to Kristi for joining us today. Let's do it again on Monday at high noon.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?